round can be fine. Hi there, my name is Tercy Engelhardt, and I want to welcome you to the Unreasonably Grateful podcast, Living in Grace by Choice. So, I always say some version of, welcome, it's great to have you be here with me. However, you got here, trust that. Might have been the referral of a friend, or maybe it just popped up on your podcast suggestions, or I don't know, all the other ways that maybe you sat next to someone and it popped up on their phone. Anyway, welcome. I'm grateful to have you. What we're doing here is really journeying together. This journey called life, where I believe that what's important is we discover who we're truly created to be. And we heal some of those broken off parts or pieces of ourselves that perhaps are a response or a reaction to the circumstances that have made up what we call our lifetime, and piece back together just how amazingly beautiful and gifted you were created. So, some of us call that recovery. Others of you may just call it life, whatever it is. I'm grateful that you're here and grateful to be sharing this journey with you. I always remind you that I don't have your answers, but by sharing tidbits of wisdom I've gleaned on my 75-year life and my path of 39 years of recovering from living an addictive lifestyle and healing from abuse and an eating disorder, sometimes some of that wisdom applies to all of us. It's universal. It's not personal. It's not just mine or for me. And sometimes in sharing those stories, you'll hear something that'll become a part of your puzzle or an answer for you that will move you further along. And if so, I'm grateful and honored to have been a part of that. Okay, so this particular episode is called Celebrating Another's Success. So, this is the time of year when kids are finishing school, people are graduating. We have grandsons moving into middle school or junior high school now. We have a teenage girl graduating from high school, actually, a couple of them. And so it's a time when there's transition and change. And just as we've been working on our own transitions and our own changes, we recognize that there are these liminal spaces, oftentimes the gaps between what was and what's going to be, and how we navigate those. Sometimes there's sadness in letting go of what was before we actually can embrace what is to be, or what even is now. And so there's a lot going on. Moms are dealing, families are dealing with changes in schedules, summers, camps, whatever else. Maybe you're retiring. Maybe you've newly retired and now you're looking at, what does this next chapter look like? Maybe you've gotten a diagnosis and you're transitioning into, wow, what does that mean in my life? Wherever you are on this growth journey, whatever may be going on, it's always beneficial to be celebrating another's success. So we don't always experience success. It's not success, 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 success. It's oftentimes success, a little failure, success, a little failure, maybe a little more failure, some success. And so, just like I was talking to my daughter in law, and we were reflecting on where things were a year ago, even as difficult as they still are right now, just reminding her like how much better it is now than it was. Because sometimes we lose perspective. And even if you're the person who is graduating, who is moving on to what's next, maybe if you are the person who's retired, or maybe you've healed from a diagnosis, it's important to acknowledge your success as well, your own success, and all of those people who assisted you in being successful. And if you're not that person and aren't experiencing it right now, you can celebrate in somebody else's success. And there's so many ways to do that. Although we can complain about the electronic lifestyle that we live in. And this is a side note, but those cables that they're laying all across the US, we're actually experiencing them here in northern Idaho. We're like, what are these cables for? Like internet access? Like who's even over in that area of Montana? Well, it turns out we found out they're for robotics. They're actually wiring and setting us up for the robotic life that is to come, that isn't here yet, but it's coming. And they're preparing the cabling, the groundwork, the system that will support that. So I was like, whoa, okay, there is change afoot. So it's the same thing. If you're in this transition, you can be celebrating someone's success by sending them a quick text, just a little note, sending them a gift, reflecting back on your own life and sharing a story about that time and that phase in your life, particularly if it's a family member or, a neighborhood, a community member. We can all learn by sharing our stories with one another. It's something that's kind of been lost in our culture. We're no longer sitting around a fire with multiple generations sharing the stories of our lives and what we've learned. But there are ways we can do that. You could send a gift, you could send flowers, you could send a handwritten note. But there's ways to encourage and support those who are graduating into something new, even if you're currently experiencing being stagnant or stuck. Oftentimes, in celebrating somebody else's success, it actually gets us out of the rut we might be in. So, wherever you are and whatever may be going on, I encourage you to utilize our social media connections or your address books and get in touch with the people who are in some sort of marked transition and celebrate them. Let them know that you're proud of them. Or if you haven't been in touch, get back in touch. Find out what that journey's been like for them, what they've learned. And also, you can again reflect back on your own life internally and look at how far you've come. Because the truth is, even when we feel stuck or not stuck, what happens is we lose our perspective. We forget how far we've come. We forget where we were 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago, and where we are now. We lose our sense of gratitude or gratefulness for all that is. Oftentimes, when what was is no longer and what's going to be hasn't yet fully manifested or shown itself to us. But in that interim, we can still maintain that place, that attitude of being grateful. And if it's not you currently experiencing or present to your growth or your development, celebrate someone else's, and that will actually move you along as well. Okay, so that's what I want you to do this week. There's plenty going on in all of our lives. There's a lot of people in transition, and we can be there as that cord that kind of connects what was and what's to be, reconnects us to those people in our lives, in our community, in our neighborhoods, in our families that are themselves experiencing some type of graduation. And then we ourselves will also see just how far we've come. Okay, take that on this week. I look forward to seeing you here next week. And I am grateful to be celebrating this journey with you. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. I'll see you next week.